Coming up on today's show, we have AEW highlights, WWE highlights, a brand new track from ANTwontstop for Full Gear, and finally, Walk the Plank. This is a great episode, guys. Stay tuned. It's all coming up right now.
DOW. Dits on Wrestling.
Ahoy, shipmates! Welcome to the Dits on Wrestling podcast, the Royal Navy's only pro wrestling pod. Probably. We've got some really good stuff here today. As always, it's always good on here. We've got AEW highlights, we have WWE highlights, we have Walk the Plank, and we have a brand new song from ANTwontstop, guy who does plenty of music raps featuring all around upcoming pay-per-views. So this time, he's focusing all on AEW's Full Gear, which unfortunately I won't be covering on this show because by the time I've got all this ready to go, all edited, all that kind of stuff, I won't have had a chance to watch Full Gear. However, there is potentially going to be a review of Full Gear over on my YouTube channel, Dits on YouTube. So keep an eye out for that because that might end up on there in some capacity. Now, another bit of stuff that I wasn't able to watch prior to recording all of this is SmackDown. Now, I don't know why it's happened to me before on this show where I have SmackDown series linked, so it's always recorded, so I can watch it on a Saturday. Well, now that it airs on a Friday, I can get up on a Saturday morning with the kids, sit down and watch SmackDown in preparation for covering it on this show. However, my Skybox or the powers that be decided that I wasn't allowed to watch SmackDown this week. It was incredibly frustrating when I saw that this morning because I watched AEW, then I watched NXT, and then I went to watch SmackDown, and lo and behold, it was not there. Very annoyed, and I've not gone off and looked at sites that I can go and watch it on because I just didn't do it. If I had it on my TV, I would have watched it, but I just couldn't be bothered sitting on my phone watching it. So WWE highlights today is just Raw and NXT. But that's not a bad thing. There's plenty of stuff that went down on both Raw and NXT that I can cover and get you some top 3 highlights. So don't worry about it. It doesn't matter. So there you go. That's it. There might be something else that isn't here today either. Laugh of the Week is taking a week off because I was watching Raw and NXT and AEW, and yes, there were some moments that I thought, I could probably get that in Laugh of the Week. I don't know. None of it really cut the mustard. None of it cut the mustard for me. But it's not the end of the world. And I'll tell you for why. Because ANTwontstop is going to be taking that spot with his Full Gear track. So, out with one and in with something equally as fantastic. So, don't worry about that. And before we get into Ant's track, I do want to mention that I am going away next week. So, there's going to be a different show that will air on Sunday. It won't be a traditional episode of the DOWPOD where, I do highlights and, laugh the weeks and walk the planks and all that kind of stuff. Because I just won't be here to watch the wrestling. I'm going to miss the majority of the wrestling next week unless I catch up on it when I'm, lying in the sun, hopefully. Hopefully it's sunny. We'll see. We'll see how that pans out. But that'll be nice. I'll just sit by the pool and watch some wrestling, but I won't be able to cover it. That's the main thing. So I do have a special edition of the DOWPOD. I'm going to be recording that at some point in the next couple of days, and that will be the episode on Sunday. I'll more than happily reveal it. It will be something to do with Survivor Series, because we do have Survivor Series coming up, and well, what a better time to talk about Survivor Series related stuff. There you go. So it's going to be topical. It's going to be nice and topical. It's going to be relevant, and it's going to have a guest as well. So keep an eye out for that, guys, because I actually think the fact that it's kind of like a replacement episode for the show, it's still going to be really, really good. And it'd be interesting to see how you guys react to it, because ultimately, if you like it and there's no highlights or, any of the other stuff that I do, maybe things could lean in that territory a little bit more, where I just focus on one topic and do the show about it. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But that's all next week. That's next week. We need to focus on now. Right now. And, well, let's kick things off with some music. Let's kick things off with some music. Let's dive head first into ANTwontstop's AEW Full Gear track. Here it is.
I'm getting tired of hearing all these comparisons. So send your favorite superstar and I'll embarrass him. The real best in the world, that ain't no character. I don't just talk it, I live it. Axe Excalibur. It's going down November 9th, mark your calendar. I'm taking on every and any damn challenger. The world traveler, the world champ. I'm leaving all you stragglers and walking down the ramp. Ha, you think it's funny, but I must be an artist. Drawing big money, haven't tried my hardest. It's effortless, I'm simply the best at this. Crossroads or code breaker, what's your preference? It's full gear, haven't been around a full year. I'm not a VP, but I got a little pull here. Give me a microphone, I'll make the haters disappear. I got my inner circle so no one could interfere. Elite. Elite. Full gear. Full gear. Elite. Elite. Full gear. Full gear. Nothing can stop me. Main event like Moxley. I'm the purveyor of violence, you can't top me. Hit me with that V trigger, try to drop me. I'll catch you with a paradigm shift, you can't copy. To all you young bucks, you better listen up. The inner circle, we've been ready to mix it up. It's bound to be a super kick party of all sorts. But we ain't playing no games, we come from New York. Cody rocking the bright hair, the nightmare. Facing Jericho for the gold, he won't fight fair. Always cheating to win, kinda like Flair. Darby Allin had his chance and he was right there. Hangman Page looks ready to fight Pac. He got a few wins, don't know how to act. That's a fact. Baltimore's getting packed. It's full gear and the match card is fully stacked. Elite. Elite. Full gear.
All elite. All elite. Full gear. Why? That's a great track. I love that stuff. Now that is available on iTunes and Google Play and Spotify. Just search for ANTwontstop, or one word, and you'll find it on there. And it's really good to have ANTwontstop on here again, because I also featured his SummerSlam song back in August. So make sure you go and check that one out as well. That one's equally as good as this one. I think this one's my favorite. I like the chilled out vibe to it. It's nice. It's good. And as a little treat for you guys, you are expecting a new episode of DOW Draft That. Guess who's on it on the next episode? It is ANTwontstop. So you get to listen to that track today, and then in the next couple of days, you get to listen to ANTwontstop on DOW Draft That. And we are drafting Nitro era WCW wrestlers. And it's a good one. It's a good one. So keep an eye out for that. That will drop at some point, probably Wednesday. That's what I'm going to wait for. Probably Wednesday, because that is the day before I fly away. Wow. Yeah. So no, great track, really good way to kick off this show and lead us straight in to the AEW highlights. Let's get into it. That is how you do a go-home show hyping up a pay-per-view. That's how you do it. AEW knocked this episode out of the park. We all expect that anyway. That seems to be par for the course. However, this is a perfect example of how things should be done right before a pay-per-view hits. Like, I'm excited for Full Gear. I'm probably going to watch it, after the fact. I won't be watching it live, so it'll probably be spoiled for me before I even get to it. But I'm not worried about it. I'm excited for it. Even if it's spoiled, I'll still watch the whole show. There's some really, really great matches on that card, and woo, I am sold. And I'm sure, who is that? Who did that? I'm sure that there's a lot of people who are now on that Full Gear train because of this show. I would be very, very surprised if that's not the case. Like, if people were kind of sitting on the fence about it and were just like, do I get Full Gear? Like, is the AEW product right now enticing enough for me, entertaining enough for me that I will go and buy Full Gear or get a subscription to Fight TV and watch Full Gear through there? I think people have now. It was all backed up with this episode, and it was a good episode. And of course, I have three top highlights for you, and of course, I also have honorable mentions. Now, let's get into the first of the highlights, because this is promo heavy. It's promo heavy. These highlights, 2 out of 3 are promos, and the first one's gained a lot of hype around social media. Like, everyone's going insane over this promo. Of course, you know what I'm talking about. We're talking about Cody Rhodes' promo on AEW Dynamite. And I watched AEW Saturday morning, so yesterday. So, of course, this drops on Sunday. I watched it yesterday. And I'd already heard the hype behind it. People saying that this is the best promo of 2019. Perhaps the best promo, or one of the best promos in the history of wrestling. Dave Meltzer himself also said that if anybody is, looking at getting better at their promos, they should use this as a study piece, all that kind of stuff. So I avoided watching this promo prior to actually watching the show itself. So I stayed away from it, but I was aware of the hype behind it. And much the same as Moxley's promo from 2 weeks ago, or last week. I can't remember what it was. That was also a great promo that was hyped up massively before I watched it. And it wasn't as good as everyone made it out to be, but it was still a fantastic promo. I expect nothing less of Jon Moxley. But Cody Rhodes' promo, on the other hand, I watched it, and the first minute maybe of it, I was kind of like, Is this the promo that people have been talking about? Really? And then it got to a point where he called Chris Jericho a dick, and it just went from there another level. It was such a great promo. So good. I think it was better than the Moxley promo, from last week or the week before, whenever it was. So good. Like I said, if people were not sure about Full Gear, and I have seen this on social media where people have said, that this is the promo that sold Full Gear to them, and they will now be watching. So that shows how powerful this thing is. It's hard to, there's so many promos throughout a year, and my memory is so terrible that I find it hard to remember promos from earlier on in the year. So I can't really comment and say, oh, this is the best promo of 2019, because I'm not sure. Honestly, I'm not sure. What I can say is definitely one of the best. And I can probably safely say it's definitely top 5, maybe top 3. But I'd have to go back and watch countless amounts of promos this year, to kind of back that up. I remember a promo that Cody did before that was last year, actually. Double or Nothing was last year. Was that last year? I actually can't remember. When the hell was Double or Nothing? When was that? I don't know. It was definitely this year. I'm going to go with this year because I watched it and I was it was this year. My memory, guys, is awful. And he did like a pre-match promo. It wasn't like in the ring. It was, a hype video, you could say, for his match with Dustin at Double or Nothing. And I thought he was fantastic in that. Like, Cody is a fantastic talker. Like, he's so good on the mic. And you can tell that he is the son of Dusty Rhodes, another master of promos. So you can be damn sure that Dusty's looking down and he's proud as hell about his son right now. What a fantastic promo. Really, really good. Sold it. There was passion. There was emotion. It had everything. And he called Chris Jericho a dick. He called Chris Jericho a dick. Come on. Like, I've been so accustomed to hearing about bitches. And Cody himself said it. He said, he's tired of Jericho calling everyone millennial bitches and all this kind of stuff. But he said he was a dick. So good. I loved it. Like, I wasn't expecting it. I thought, he's going to just call him a dick, call him a bitch. But he called him a dick. It was good. I'm saying dick way too much right now. If somebody is listening to me record this, like, what the hell is going on up there? Dick! 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 Wow. That guy's got some sort of dick fetish. No, I don't. Okay? I don't have a dick fetish. Jesus, let's not start getting that around. Wow. Fantastic promo. That obvious highlight. An obvious highlight from AEW this week. And my second highlight from AEW is kind of the anti-Cody promo, the opposition to this, the Jericho promo that he did, that was self-produced. And it was fantastic. It was fantastic. I'm a huge fan of Chris Jericho, so anything like this is, guaranteed to pop me straight away. It was awesome. Like, when you see, Sammy Guevara straight away, stupid heel face, straight away. Oh, what bubbly should we go with? And then it leads to, like the backstage talking bits. Like, Jake Hager is just not saying anything. And then you get the, I think she's Chris's aunt's mum's, or Chris's mum's aunt's, or Chris's aunt's mum's, Chris's aunt's friend's church friend. I don't know. It was something insane. I remember looking, I was like, what is going on here? But it was funny. It was really funny. Like, and the whole, this is a Chris Jericho that I am really loving right now. And AEW putting this together as well, it was entertaining. And to be fair, if there was a laugh of the week this week, there would have been something from this featured in it. I can more or less guarantee that. Like, it was funny, it was entertaining, and again, it did hype up Full Gear, their match at Full Gear. It sold me. And the other thing I liked about it as well is that it once again highlight the fact that, in this sense it was a jokey thing, but when I first started covering AEW highlights a couple of weeks ago with Anthony Talk Stuff, we mentioned, like, because the Cody promo that they did, like the build up to it all, where it started when he was in the kitchen with Brandy and all that kind of stuff. It was mentioned in that promo that, Cody's going to be off doing meetings and all that kind of stuff, where Jericho's sole focus is the match itself, or, picking out the best little bit of the bubbly. And it was highlighted again in this, obviously in a more jokey way, but I like that That is a focus to this match. That is kind of like an undertone to this match. I'm really digging that. So I can't wait for this. I can't wait for this. I don't know. I honestly don't know what is going to happen. I don't know. I'm now that there's this big thing of Cody, he will never challenge for the AEW World title again if he loses. That's a big stipulation. A big stipulation. But you'd imagine that Cody at some point, if he lost, say this stipulation didn't exist, he would be back in the world title picture at some point. But now this stipulation's in, I don't know. Will they go back on it at a later date? Like, will he, be a heel and kind of go, well, who cares? Like, it's my show. I can do what I want. And just completely overturn it? I don't know. I honestly don't know. Would I like to see Cody as AEW champion? I wouldn't mind. I'm not against it. I'm really not against it. But I'm really loving Le Champion, Chris Jericho. I'm loving his run at the moment. It's entertaining. It's fun. I'd be interested to see what Chris Jericho does if he wasn't world champion. Like what kind of feuds he gets into then, what kind of programs he gets into. But I don't know, guys. I just don't know. I don't know who I don't know who I want to win. I really don't. I'm stuck. I'm torn. I'm on the fence. But that's by the by. We're talking about highlights here. We're talking about highlights. And the Jericho video package was my second highlight. And we have to have a this is actually a cheat because it's technically two, but I'm going to morph it into one because it's my show and I can do what the hell I want. Okay? The main event. Jericho and stupid Sammy Guevara and his stupid face and that stupid tongue, and now that stupid selfie phone, and I just want to punch him in the face. They were against Hangman Page and Kenny Omega, and it was. I actually really enjoyed this match. I thought it was really good. There were some good matches throughout the show. I don't know. I just really like this one. I like a tag match that isn't just all go. There were spots, but it was like a main event quality, tag match with main event guys, who aren't traditionally tag teams. I know Jericho and Guevara are part of the Inner Circle, and Kenny Omega and Hangman Page, are part of the Elite. But traditionally they're not tag teamers. They're not tag teams. So I liked it. I liked the match. There were some really cool moments in it. I think the right team won. Going into Full Gear with Chris Jericho hitting the Judas effect. Now, I'm just going to talk about the Judas effect for just a second here because it gets a lot of hate, the Judas effect, saying it's underwhelming, I think is the main thing there. But if somebody hit me in the face with an elbow at speed, might I add, speed and impact, an elbow to the face, that would hurt. That might knock me out. That may make me bleed my own blood. So I'm happy with the Judas effect as a finisher. And I like the fact that it's protected as well. Nobody has kicked out of that thing yet. And that didn't happen on Dynamite either. Hangman Page down for the 1-2-3. Boom. Jericho and Guevara picking up the win, looking strong, with a Pikachu assist. That's right, Pikachu. He came out and, he intervened and allowed Jericho to take advantage and pick up the win for the Inner Circle. Oh, but that's not it. It doesn't end there, guys. We had a whole host of mayhem that followed on from this. We had Cody Rhodes coming out. We had MJF coming out. We had Santana and Ortiz. There we go. I finally remembered their names. Yes! All this time I've been calling them LAX and I keep forgetting the names. Boom! Santana and Ortiz. Boom! Got them. Yes! Suck it! All the Young Bucks came out. Moxley came out. Puck was still around. Like, it was chaos. It was amazing. It was fantastic. Like, at some points there was like, whoa, there's stuff going on over here that I want to watch, but at the same time there's stuff going on here. Like, I want to kind of watch, what's going on both ends, and I wasn't able to do that. But it sold full gear. Like, every main feud, every big feud that was going on was represented in this brawl. And it still carried on after the show went off the air, sorry. And it was great. So many cool spots going on. Ambrose and oh my god, I Ambrosed him. Oh shit. Oh dear. No. Bad Dits. Naughty. Moxley and Omega getting their hands on each other and going at it. And then we had Cody and Jericho. Jericho pulling the cameraman down as well. That was a treat. It was typical Jericho. This is the Jericho that I know and love these days. So good. But yeah, the whole thing, it all went off on the air. What a great way to sell a pay-per-view with this brawl. WWE do brawls as well, but they're annoying brawls. They're shit brawls. It's the same thing. Pull-aparts. I don't do pull-aparts. Pull-aparts are boring. Nobody wants a pull-apart, especially one where, it's fight, punch, pull away. Oh, I'm going to go for you now. Dive over everybody. Punch, pull away. Oh, no, now it's my turn. I'm going to go. Nice. Boring. Less. This is how you do a brawl before a pay-per-view. WWE, take note. But they're the highlights, guys. So we got Cody's incredible promo, Jericho's fantastic promo package, his video package, and then the main event with the brawl following it. Amazing stuff. Now, we do have honorable mentions. Of course, we have honorable mentions. Always got everything covered. Pikachu versus Trent, I had as an honorable mention. I thought the match was actually good. I enjoyed the match. It was just the there was a little bit of a mistake maybe that happened. I can't quite put my finger on the pulse with it. It wasn't Pikachu's fuck up. It wasn't him. Or maybe it was. Maybe he was supposed to pull Trent up at the 2 count and didn't do it. Maybe Trent was supposed to kick out, although that is incredibly doubtful because he just got hit with the Black Arrow, which is a protected as finisher. Nobody's kicking out of that thing, so that's probably not it. Or the ref messed it up. It looked bad. It looked really, really, really bad. Like, just whatever you do, ref, it's an unwritten law, an unwritten rule that you just counter free and just play it as a shoot. But it didn't. It looked terrible. Of course, Pikachu then, locked in the submission, picked up the win that way. But it didn't look great. And it's an honorable mention, though. The match itself was good. Then we had Private Party versus the Dark Order, which was another good match. And, I just want to mention the Dark Order here because, to their credit, the crowd were dead, them coming down to the ring. Like, nobody gives a flying F about the Dark Order. But when they got in the ring, like, the crowd seemed to warm to them a little bit. They were reacting to what they were doing. Stu Grayson, I believe his name is, the bald dude. He's pretty good. He's pretty good in the ring. And Evil Uno, I believe that's his name. I'm terrible with names with new promotions. I really am. Like I worry about when I start watching NWA Power and catching up on all of that because it's going to take me a long time to get the names right. But I believe that is the case. I think it's Evil Uno and Stu Grayson. That's what I'm going with. But they did really well in the ring. It was entertaining what they were doing in the ring. And the crowd seemed to warm to them a little bit more. And I've talked about this on the show already. When it comes to the Dark Order, I'm warming to their gimmicks slightly. I maybe won't go full in on it. But their in-ring stuff, I like it. And their match with Private Party was good. Who doesn't love a bit of gin and juice? Who doesn't love a bit of gin and juice? I'll tell you who else doesn't. Who else loves gin and juice? It was Mr. Warren Hayes on our Draft That episode of Finishing Moves. So go check that out. And gin and juice is in there somewhere. You just got to listen to it and find out where. So there you go. Go check that out. But no, it was a good match. Just not... There was other great stuff that happened on the show that took over this for me. And then finally, Spears versus Brandon Cutler. You know, it was short, but it was sweet. I'm liking Sean Spears. I'm liking this new... I've already Ambrosed in this, so I'm going to Dillinger now. When you look at Dillinger in WWE, he had so much potential. I loved him down in NXT, but on the main roster, he floundered. But look at him now. Sean Spears, the chairman of AEW. I think he's fantastic. I really, really like his evolution from WWE into AEW. And this was a fun little match. Brandon Cutler actually impressed me as well. You know, he had a couple of pretty fun spots in it. Of course, you know, he didn't pick up the win, which is hardly surprising to anybody. This was a Sean Spears showcase, and showcase him they did. It was a fun little match. It was good. But that's my honorable mentions for AEW, my highlights for AEW. It was a great show. Like I've said, this is how you sell a pay-per-view before you get into it. So much fun. So much fun. But how did WWE fare this week? Now, like I said in the intro, I've only got Raw and NXT ticked off. Wasn't able to watch SmackDown. So, was Raw and NXT, for me, better than AEW this week? Well, let's have a look at some highlights and see if we can work that out. Let's get into it. It's been a pretty good week for WWE. We had a good Raw, had a great NXT, and that is it for me for the highlights this week. I wasn't able to watch SmackDown, as I said earlier on in the episode. Sky Sports let me down. So highlights this week are all based off Raw and NXT. And I have my top 3, 1 from Raw and 2 from NXT, because I wanted to spread it out a little bit. And I didn't want it to be like full-on NXT takeover. I wanted, you know, some of it to be, you know, elsewhere. Which is why this segment has taken my first highlight. Rey Mysterio attacking the Beast, Brock Lesnar, on Monday Night Raw. I loved this whole thing. And you know what? I'm going to count everything that Brock did as, you know, a secondary highlight, if you will, because he came out at the start of the show. Heyman had a fantastic promo to kick. I mean, would you expect anything less of Paul Heyman? It was a really good promo. And then Brock got pissed off, and he went in the search of Rey, was throwing everybody about. And this is the Brock that I like. I like a Brock that just doesn't care. He's aggressive. He's brutal. This is the Brock that I signed up for. You know, I'm happy with this Brock. Keep this Brock going. Either this Brock or Dancing Brock. Either way, I'm happy. Although, to be fair, I think I'd rather have Dancing Brock. I bring back the Brock party. Bring it back. And then then he came back out after a match happened. I forget who it was. And confronted the announce desk. Specifically Jerry Lawler initially, and Heyman, whoa, Jesus, came out with a bit of a zinger, reference Jerry Lawler's heart attack that he had a few years ago. That was pretty rough, but it made Madden stand up, and stand up to Brock he did. I think he was the same height or taller. I didn't think he was that tall, and squared up to Brock Lesnar, which was a cool sight. But then was taken out on the announce desk for his troubles. But to the rescue, Rey Mysterio with a metal pipe, I think it was, and assaulted Brock. made Brock look weak. I love it. I love when smaller guys take on Brock Lesnar. And who's smaller than Rey Mysterio? This is going to be an incredible match. I'm sure of it. Unless there's an injury, and Rey has had his injuries since coming back to WWE, and I hope he doesn't pick up one in this match. I'm looking. This is one of the matches at Survivor Series that I'm really looking forward to. It's going to be a blast. It's going to be so good. And I have a feeling that Dominic is going to play some role in it as well, which would be cool. I'd love to see Dominic get his hands on Brock. I don't think Rey's going to win the title, though. I don't think Rey's going to win the title. It's going to stay on Brock. But this is still going to be a good match. It's going to be a really good match. But no, this... I was sold that, Rey Mysterio as the plucky underdog, that's what he needs to be. Came out with a weapon, is kind of like an equalizer, and made Brock look weak. He was limping to the back after that attack. It was great. Really, really good. Of course, there were other good moments on Raw which haven't made the grade this week. What did we have? We had, Angry Brock I had as an honorable mention, but I've tied it in to the whole thing here. Buddy Murphy, Cedric Alexander, they had a pretty decent match. I hope to see more of these two, because it's all well and good just throwing them both together and just going, yeah, they have a little bit of a rivalry which is, spilled over from 205 Live. Let's put a bit of meat on those bones. Make them do more. But that was a pretty good match. NXT invading WWE with, the whole Seth Rollins thing, and then the Undisputed Era coming out. That was a good segment. I enjoyed that. Shayna and Becky. That little backstage segment. Becky sat down to do an interview, but Shayna Baszler was the one that sat directly in front of her. And they traded a few bars. It was a good segment. It sold me. Like it seemed like a big deal, them two meeting face to face for the first time. Like, it seemed like a big deal. And going into Survivor Series, I don't know, Bayley seems like a bit of an afterthought in this triple threat. I mean, I know that it's not like a blood feud or an actual personal feud of any kind. It's just getting the three champions to square off against each other, like Survivor Series has done for many years now. But we do have this Baszler Lynch little thing going on, and like I said, I haven't watched SmackDown, so unless Bayley did something on SmackDown to kind of make herself on a level footing with the other two, maybe that happened. I don't know, but it was great. It was great. Like, Becky was fantastic. Baszler, I've never really thought highly of her promo ability, but she came across pretty well as well in this segment. So I loved it. I thought it was great. Just missed out on an actual highlight spot, but I combined Angry Brock and Rey's Angry Brock and Rey's attacks to have a super highlight, and that one won over. And then, of course, Cole versus Rollins in the main event. That was pretty good. And then that was just turned into a brawl between NXT guys and the Raw guys, which was fun. It was a fun little brawl. Kind of like what happened on AEW, more or less. They Raw and Dynamite closed off in pretty much the same way. Which leaves us to head over to NXT for the remaining two highlights. The first of which is Damian Priest versus Pete Dunne. Wow. Their first match that they had 2 or 3 weeks ago was brilliant. It was so good. This one beat it. This one topped it. And I loved, I love their chemistry. Like, these two work really, really well together. And I loved the finish to the match. If Damian Priest can kick Pete Dunne in the ghoulies, then Pete Dunne can do the same. And it doesn't matter. Like, Pete Dunne was just getting his own back. And hit the finish, hit the bitter end. 1, 2, 3. Great stuff. But incorporated into this highlight is what happened after the bell. We had Killian Dane come down and attack Pete Dunne. Damian Priest wanted Pete Dunne for himself, but no. Killian Dane wanted Pete Dunne for all himself, so that he attacked Damian, and then that set that thing up, and then Dane took out Dunne. Then Priest came in to get his own back on Killian Dane, but Dane was having none of it, and threw him into the ring steps, cannonball to the ring steps. Dane looks like a freaking animal. He looks great. I loved it. How they've portrayed Killian Dane since, I guess, since Sanity ceased to be and he returned to NXT, I think he's been great. They're making him look like an absolute monster. I'm loving it. And that I'm incorporating that into the highlight as well. I did have that as an honorable mention as well, but I cheated already on these WWE highlights, and I'm going to cheat again. Finally, and it will probably come to no surprise, it's the OC versus Keith Lee, Matt Riddle, and Tommaso Ciampa. I mean, to start the show, they had that promo in the ring and kind of setting this thing up, which was great. But it's all about the match. There were some great spots in here. I mean, it was just great seeing AJ Styles, and the OC as a whole in NXT. Like that, it was pretty cool. All these guys, they skipped NXT and went straight to the main roster. To actually see them in NXT at Full Sail was great. Such a great visual. And to see them squaring off against Ciampa, Keith Lee, and Matt Riddle, equally as popping. I was just popping the whole time. And then we started to build to that finish in the match. The match itself was great. I loved the match. But we built towards the finish. We had that great ref bump by Drake. Drake Verse, I think is his name. Drake Wirtz. I'm sure. You'd think I would know the name of my favorite referee in WWE, but I've messed that one up. That's not good. But he took a great ref bump. It was brilliant. Like he sold it. He sold that better than a lot of people in WWE sell stuff. Like it was a great sell. But he used to be a wrestler in CZW, I believe. So there you go. There's a little tidbit for you. And then of course, pandemonium. Everything kicked off. We had Adam Cole coming down, and then Finn Balor came out. It was insane. Like, the whole thing just ended with mayhem. Every show this week, maybe, I don't know if SmackDown did, but every show this week has ended in chaos, including Dynamite, Raw, Dynamite, NXT, and, I know, I've seen spoilers. I know it was taped here in the UK, SmackDown, and Raw next week. I don't think they've ever done that before. That was a bit weird. But they've taped them all in advance, and I've seen spoilers of Imperium. So maybe Imperium and the SmackDown roster were brawling at the end of SmackDown as well, just to complete the chaos full circle. Maybe NWA Power had a brawl at the end of their show. Maybe Impact had a brawl at the end of their show. It was just Brawl Mania. Brawl for all. That's what it was. But NXT was fantastic. As it always is. It's always great. I love NXT. There was a few blips, but it was a great show. Honorable mention-wise for NXT. The OC's attack on the Undisputed Era right at the start of the show. In fact, just before the show started, was brilliant. Like, I wasn't expecting it. It came out of nowhere. And it's finally made the OC just seem legit badass. That's what it seems like. There's always been that, they don't seem like a big deal. They started strong, and then they lost the tag titles, and then they've made a mess of Anderson and Gallows, a couple of times. I mean, I say a couple of times, a lot, when they were the Club, and making them be doctors and had testicles in jars and all that ridiculous stuff. Now they're looking like they always should have looked. From the moment they came to WWE, this is how they should have been booked. It was a brutal attack. And I don't know if you noticed, somebody picked this up on social media, and I'm hoping it's not genuine because, ow. Gallows threw Bobby Fish into one of the containers, and the moment his head supposedly hits that container, blood just bursts from his face onto that container. Like, go back and watch it. If you're not aware of this, go back and watch it and just wait for Gallows to throw Bobby Fish into that container, and you will just see blood just burst out from his face. Like, that's a potential broken nose right there, unless he had something in his mouth and spewed it out as it happened. I don't know. I haven't seen anything. I haven't seen anything to say otherwise, but it was awesome. It was an awesome little moment. Then we had Dakota Kai versus Baszler. A nice little match. It was good. Obviously, they had the attack at the end of that as well, setting up War Games even further. Mia Yim coming out with a kendo stick and clearing house, and then obviously earning her spot in the War Games match. You know, that was a pretty good segment. Loved that. Tony Nese and Garza. That was a fun match, and this should actually probably be the highlight of the week. Is Tony Nese powerbombing Angel Garza's pants. It made me laugh. It was funny. But it was a really good match as well. Setting up the number one contender for the Cruiserweight Championship match next week on NXT. And Garza, I've become such a huge fan of Angel Garza since I saw him in the Breaking Out tournament. Was that it? I'm going to call it that. Breaking Out tournament. Jesus Christ. He looked great in that. I just remembered like watching him and being like, I'm really impressed with this guy. And ever since I've seen him, he's been nothing but impressive to me. Like, he's got a good character. He's got a good look. He's got a great moveset. That finish is brilliant. I forget the name. I don't know the name. But even that was great. And yeah, we got a match with Leo Rush to look forward to. Angel Garza versus Leo Rush. That is going to be so much fun. But that is all my honorable mentions for NXT, and of course that is all my highlights for WWE. I'm so annoyed that I wasn't able to watch SmackDown this week. Like, it's really, really frustrated me. But it is what it is. You gotta ride the rough with the smooth. So hopefully, obviously not next week because I'm not here and you're getting a special episode of the show, but the week after, hopefully SmackDown actually records and I actually end up watching it. That's what I hope for. We'll see. But, oh man, I need to go watch SmackDown. I want to go watch SmackDown. Imperium invaded SmackDown, for Christ's sake. I need to go watch it. But that is WWE. It's been a good week at WWE. It's been a good week. But it might not be a good time for the Nerd Society, who is going to be walking the plank for us today. Good stuff. Of course, Walk the Plank is a segment of the show which is all about your wrestling hot takes. You step on that plank and I will decide whether you will walk it or whether you will be pulled back in. And this week, the Nerd Society walks the plank. Now let's just set the mood a little bit here. Let's get the sea shanties in full swing. Let's give the lads some grog and let's figure out what we're going to do with Mr. Nerd over here. Now, his wrestling hot take, he posed a question to me in our DM chat the other day, and I thought it was good enough to appear on this episode of the DOWPOD, but the Walk the Plank segment. And his hot take, I think, is actually one of the better hot takes so far, because I think a lot of people are going to disagree with it. I really do. The hot take, in fact, was Shawn Michaels versus Bret the Hitman Hart, WrestleMania 12, 60-minute Iron Man match. Was it overrated? Well, the Nerd Society seems to think that it is. Interesting stuff. Now, the amount of people who praise the hell out of this match, it's insane. Like, so many people praise it, sing its praises. It's renowned for being fantastic. One of the all-time great matches at WrestleMania. And it's an interesting one because I hadn't actually seen the match. It's always been on my list of things to watch, but I've never actually seen it. So to actually, give this a fair shot, I went and watched it. Just before I recorded this, I went and watched it. So, is the Nerd Society going to be jumping in the water today? I say jumping. He will be pushed off this plank if I deem his wrestling hot take to be absolute garbage. Or will I pull him in? Interesting. We've got sharks circling around this ship. I think he's worried. He has to be worried, right? Because nobody wants to be eaten by a shark. You've got Mr. Jaws, Mr. Jaws Jr., you got Mr. Jaws Jr. down there. They're all hungry. They want some nerd. They might just get him. But this is where I stand when it comes to this hot take. I'm bearing in mind I've just watched it for the first time, so I'm going into this pretty fresh. I agree with the Nerd Society. I think this match is overrated. I don't feel bad about saying that. I was watching it and I worked out that it's probably around 47 or 48 minutes worth of rest holds, chokeholds, headlocks, arm bars, lying around. I honestly, the first 35 minutes of this thing, I was bored. Like, I could see what was happening. The building to, the exciting portion of the match. But I don't know. For me, it was just a bit. Just come on! I don't want to see an armbar for 2 minutes. And then, they get up and then transition into another hold. And it's just, come on, right? And every time it looked like it was going to pick up, it didn't. It just went back to more holds. And things didn't actually... there was a chin lock in the last 10 minutes that went on for 2 minutes. So, of the last 10 minutes in this match, 2 minutes of that was a chin lock. Unbelievable. Like, I don't know. The bits that were, not the bits that weren't holds were brilliant. Brett was fantastic. With his attacks, and then Shawn was classic Shawn when he found his energy and started to make a comeback. We got that really good finish of Shawn being locked in the sharpshooter, and then the time elapsing. And then it being restarted, and then the last 5 minutes plus that little bit of overtime were great. But when you're looking at an Iron Man match, I think some Iron Man matches have gone less than 60 minutes, but to be fair, any Iron Man match or Iron Woman match, because that's the thing now, equality. Everything builds towards that last little bit. And it's always, it's full gear. It's just rapid and exciting and thrilling, and you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know who's going to win, and I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I was going to enjoy it, because this is a match that I've wanted to watch for a very, very long time. I just never got around to it, and this gave me an excuse to watch it. And, I think this match is incredibly overrated. I really do. The bits that were, like I said, the bits that were exciting and had a bit of oomph about it were great. They were great. I can see why those bits, would be, put in this conversation of being a great match. But it's just the holds. The holds just took things away from it. And I don't know. I would love to push the Nerd Society into the water, but I just can't do it. So, I have a poll right now, and I'm pulling you in, buddy. You have survived Walk the Plank this week. As much as I wanted to throw you in there, you have survived. And before I actually started recording this, I thought you were going in. But I've watched it, and I can see exactly where you are coming from. So I'm pulling you in. That's 2 out of 3 people that have survived so far. I don't want to make that a thing again next time. Somebody's going in that water, alright? So give me your hottest of hot takes for the next Walk the Plank? People out there, just DM me, comment on this promo tweet that goes out for this episode. I want your wrestling hot takes, and I want it to be the hottest of hot takes, because I want to throw someone in the water. It's no fun letting people live. Come on. But Five Nerd Society, you live to fight another day. Well done to you. But that is Walk the Plank this week, guys. And unfortunately, you know, like everything else next week, this will not be back next week. It will be back the following week. So that's plenty enough time for you guys to get your hot takes in. But today, that is all that we have time for. And it's been another fun episode of the DOWPOD. Of course, you know, there was a few bits missing. We didn't have Laugh of the Week, but it was replaced by ANTwontstop's full gear track. Again, that is available on Google Play, iTunes, and Spotify, so make sure you go and check that out. Laugh of the Week was gone. SmackDown didn't make an appearance. I didn't cover full gear. I mean, there was stuff missing, but it was still a fun show. I enjoyed it, as much as I hope you guys enjoyed listening to it. Now, there is stuff in the pipeline coming up. We've got another DOW Draft That episode with ANTwontstop coming up in the next couple of days. Of course, I'm away for the next week or so. So next week is a special edition for episode 29. I'm going to be doing a Survivor Series special. There are no highlights, no Laugh of the Weeks, no Walk the Planks, none of that good stuff. It's just a special talking all about Survivor Series and one particular moment of Survivor Series, but you'll have to wait and see. And I have a guest joining me for that show as well, so I'll be recording that in the next couple of hours, actually. So it's going to be fun. A great guest as well. I've wanted to chat to this guy for so long, and this is finally an opportunity to do it. So it's going to be a fun show for you next week, despite the fact that I'm not going to be here to do anything with it. But you get to enjoy it, at least. So there's that. I'm also looking at doing a new podcast as well. It's called 10 of Everything, and it will be top 10s of everything. Like I like a lot of stuff, and I've wanted to do another podcast that isn't wrestling related for so long, and I just couldn't settle on something because I thought I like too much stuff to hone in on like a niche topic. So I thought people like top 10s. I know there's top 10 pods out there. I know that top 10 YouTubes, like top 10s are everywhere. But people like lists. People love a good top 10. I love a good top 10. And this will cover everything: movies, music, books, smells, colors, cars, toilet paper, the worst stuff, you know, the worst places to visit on the planet, you know, the stupidest names, the best words in the English dictionary, loads of stuff, everything. That's the point, everything. And that'll be dropping in the next month or so. So I'm excited to deliver that. So keep an eye out for that as well. You'll hear me plug it on here a few times, but you know, of course, this is the wrestling podcast. This is Dits on Wrestling. I'm not gonna shower you too much with something over there, you know, over there in the distance, even though it is mine. But when it comes to the Dits on Wrestling podcast, you can of course go and check this out on Apple Pods, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, my YouTube channel, Dits on YouTube. It's everywhere. Your favorite podcast app, you can guarantee that this show is on there right now. So go check that out, subscribe, leave reviews, 5-star ratings, all that good stuff. It all helps. But thank you very much for listening to this show, this episode today. It's been a hoot, and I'll see you for DOW Draft That in the next couple of days, and then my Survivor Series special next week. But I will be back for the episodic stuff with the highlights and all that good stuff in 2 weeks. So make sure you do subscribe so you don't miss any of that stuff. Have a good one, guys. Ciao, ciao. Ciao, 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 ciao.